All right, I figured I'd do a part 2 to this emoji thing because I couldn't think of anything else to build. So let's just kind of do a quick recap. We built this emoji dialog thing that pops up. When you click on emojis, it puts them in a little, div here. All right, so to make this more like Discord, this would need to be a text box. So we could try to do that. We could also, I don't know how the Discord one works. Let me just see how the Discord one works. So if you click on this, click on emoji, it automatically closes the panel, okay, and focuses on the input. So let's try to do that. So if you click on emoji, we want to close the dialog or the panel, and then we want to focus on the input down here. So let's go back to the index, and we have the emojis being displayed here. So what I'm going to do instead is I want to make this an input, and I'm going to say the value is equal to selected emojis, and I'm going to refactor this name because now this doesn't really make sense. I'm going to call this text and set text, okay? And the difference is that when you click on an emoji, we are going to basically append that emoji to the existing text. Now, what I also need to do is I need to do an on change because we need to know when the user has typed into the input box. So I'm going to do that. And I think that should work. I have an extra parentheses. Let me delete that. All right, so now the idea is like when you click on an emoji, it's supposed to type into here. So this is not working yet. I do have some console logs. Make sure you always pay attention to this little red X. The moment you see this turn red, go to your console and make sure that you did not screw something up. So I think this is complaining because, actually, I'm not sure why this, I passed it set text there for some reason. So let's just go ahead and not do that. So now you can actually type, you can do some emojis, but notice that we're not focused when you click on the emoji and we didn't close the panel. So what I'm going to have to also do is whenever the text changes, I need to also refocus on this input. So the best way to do that is maybe pass some type of function into this. Or actually I could just, I might need to use a ref. There might be a way to do it without a ref, but the first thing that comes to mind is using a ref. So we need to access the lower level JavaScript DOM object so we can tell it to focus on this input. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to say const input ref. Actually, let me do this. Input ref equals to use ref. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I import that use ref hook. Use ref is a hook that you can use to get back some reference, right? This is like a reference variable and you can put it directly on your DOM elements. It's super important when you need to do lower level stuff. You don't need to do it that often, but sometimes you do. So we're going to set the text here and then we're going to say input ref.current.focus. Okay, what that's going to do is basically focus on the input after we clicked on an emoji. And if this all works, we should be able to see it focus on the input. That's not working, so we might have to try a different approach. So what I'm going to do instead, actually, let me just do a hard refresh. Sometimes Next doesn't properly refresh your components, so you have to like do a hard refresh. So if I were to just type here and click on emoji, does it focus on this? It still doesn't, okay? So I need to figure out a different approach to this, and this is probably due to like the way React is doing things under the hood. Because I'm pretty sure this is how you do it. Focus on the input ref. Let's see how GitHub Copilot recommends we do this. Yeah. There's a couple ways we could achieve this. We could use a use effect and put it on the actual text. So whenever the text changes, we focus on it. Let's see if that actually works. So now we're getting like more complicated. I'm going to go ahead and bring in use effect. And we're going to call use effect. And what we want to do is we want to call this effect anytime the input changes. So I'm going to go ahead and put text in the dependency array. And what this does is anytime the text changes here, whether it be a user typed into the input or you did an emoji thing, we're going to just go ahead and try to focus on the input ref. Again, I don't know if this is fully going to work, but we're going to try it out. Great way to learn how to code is just try stuff out. Okay, just try it out, see what happens. Okay, we got our emojis. Click this and notice that we are focused on the input again. So that is exactly what we want. Okay. So what I'm also going to do is I want to close the emoji panel whenever you clicked on an emoji, right? So when we clicked on the emoji, we already have like a function that's calling. And I don't like putting inline functions here. Like sometimes you can do it, sometimes you shouldn't do it. But if the function is doing too much, it sometimes makes sense to pull it up here. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm going to say emoji clicked is a function. My space bar is messed up. I think I got some sugar in it last night. I was trying to make some hot chocolate and I poured sugar close to my laptop. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of calling this function here, I'm going to say emoji clicked. And then what we're going to do is we want to hide the emoji panel, right? So we have this Boolean state that we can just set it to false. And that should automatically hide the dialog when we click on an emoji, right? So this is kind of similar to how the panel is working with Discord, where you click on an emoji and it closes. One thing I'm not liking about this is that how often do emojis change? Probably not that often, right? So what we want to do is we want to cache these results because it's really slow to reload and refetch all those things. You could use something like React Query and that'll cache it behind the scenes. But in all honesty, like we don't want to do a request to their backend API every single time because A, they could have limiting in place and they could block us. So I think a better approach would be just cache these results. And you can do that with a React memo, I believe. I think. So what we're going to do, actually, I don't know if we want to use React memo. Let me just cache it the old fashioned way. So again, we're using JavaScript, so you can pull caches out. If you pull it to the higher level, then, you know, this is going to cache even between re-renders if it's not inside this component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say emoji list cache is equal to null. Actually, I'm going to go equal to, yeah, I'm going to say equal to null. Okay. So now we know it's null when this page first loads. And when we do the fetch, what we want to do is we're going to say if there is no emoji list, then we do the fetch, like get all that data from the backend. And we are going to basically put that inside the cache. So I'm going to go say, I'm going to make this into a function so we can call different things here. I'm going to say set emojis is emojis, and then I'm going to say emoji cache is equal to emojis, like that. All right, so now we've actually cached it. And if it is cached, we are just going to say set emojis like this. Actually, no, like this. And you can take it a step further. Like you could store this in local storage so that you never actually have to like retrieve it from the backend. The reason I don't want to use React Query here is because it's going to fetch from their backend every single time. You can kind of disable that, I believe, with a setting. But let's see what happens if we do this. So I think the issue I'm having here, if it's not set, let me do a hard refresh and see what's going on. Okay, well, so when it loads, it's saying that there's an error here. React will retry to recreate this component tree from scratch using an error boundary on. If you look at the error, it tells you it's at a div, line 19, line 16. I'm going to assume it's this one. Probably trying to render out null somewhere. Let me just see what's going on here. All right, did it get the emojis? Let me do it again. Yeah, okay, so I'm not setting the emojis. I need to set it, if this is not set, then we want to set it. So this is an issue with the promise chaining. I think what I need to do is I need to wrap this in a function so I can do async await, because we don't want to run this until we know we've gotten back the emoji list, right? Actually, what I could probably do is just put this here. So we're going to do the emojis, but then else, let's try this and see what happens. Just do an old-fashioned if else. So if it's not cached, fetch it from cache and set it into cache. If it is cached, we are just going to set it. So I think this should hopefully not fetch it every single time this component mounts. Okay, so notice that it's pretty quick now. It doesn't have to like refetch every time. I know if I do a hard refresh on the page, it's going to refresh, but this is faster. Pretty cool. So the last thing I want to kind of do maybe is groups. So if you notice, if you look at the image here of how Discord does emojis, like they have like different groups here, people, and I think as you scroll through, it'll like change the different groups. So I'm just going to focus on putting the groups here of the emojis and see if I can group them. So first thing I'm going to do is look at the network tab and see what else comes back from the network. So open this dialog, it does the backend fetch, and then we are going to look at one of these. And there's different groups here, right? They have groups on them. So we are going to do, oh, they have groups and they have subgroups. People body. Is there any other objects? Let's just do group. Let's keep it simple. So this is going to get a little bit more complicated. What we want to do is we want to kind of group these by the group, right? So when we get the emojis back, I'm actually going to do something like this. I'm going to say const emoji groups, set emoji groups. And this is going to be equal to an object. Okay. And we are going to actually, instead of using this with just an array of all the emojis, we're going to have an object that has a key value pair between the group name and the list of emojis that are in that group. So we're going to have to do some logic here when we set that up. So instead of setting the emojis, we actually want to get all the groups. So I'm going to do a map on this. I'm going to say emojis.map, and then emoji, actually Copilot told me what to do, emoji.group. So this gets you all the group keys. And then what we want to do is we want to kind of make a new object. So I'm going to say new group. New groups is equal to an empty object, or let group of groups. We're going to loop through all those keys. And I'm going to say new groups of group is equal to an empty array. So that's just taking all the keys and just setting them up to an empty array. There's other ways I could do this. I'm probably going to clean this up in a bit. But what we're going to do now is we can loop through every single emoji and we can assign it to whatever group that it needs to be part of, right? So if the group of the emoji is people, then we're going to push into the people array. So now we can actually use these groups. Let me just go ahead and say set emoji groups like this. And we don't need to cache. We don't even need the list of emojis anymore. Let's get rid of that. I'm just going to comment out for now. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say emoji group cache. I'm going to cache the actual group structure instead of the list. Just a personal preference. There's no really real reason why I'm doing that. But this should group everything. And now we have to refactor the UI a little bit, because instead of doing a map, what we need to do is we need to actually like loop through every group. All right, so I'm going to say get all the keys of the emoji group. And for every key, we're going to render out a div like this. And we want to kind of list out the group name here. So we could do like an H4 or something. Doesn't really matter what we do. Just some type of like differentiator to know where the group is. And then we want to basically do this. I'm going to change it from get filter to emojis to something else. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to loop through all the emojis that are in that group. And let's see if this will auto indent correctly. I think I have like a missing div or something. I love Copilot. It really helps you just like not waste time with like stupid stuff like indentation and curly braces missing and stuff like that. So now I don't know if this will work. We can look and see if it'll work. I think it will. Go back to the UI and I open this. It's doing a fetch and it's actually displaying all the groups in the same row. So there is a little bug which I need to figure out how to fix. I think the issue is that this styling needs to actually be part of the emojis. Okay, the grid system needs to be part of the emojis. The groups just need to be their own thing. You know, I just put it on the wrong thing. Let me, sorry, let me take the styles out. I need to put it on this. Nope. Undo. I need to put it on, I need to wrap this. Sorry for jumping around, y'all, but again, I'm live coding, so it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I should probably slow down and think, but this is just the way I like the code. I just prototype, refactor. All right, here we go. It looks beautiful. So now we have like all the emojis, smiley emojis. Uh-oh. So if I close the thing and load it back up, it does crash. Emojis group. Emojis group. So I think I need to set this emojis group. It crashes. If there is no emoji group cache, we fetch it, else we set it. Set emojis group, new group. Okay, yeah, so the issue is I was putting the wrong thing on cache. I actually want to cache the thing that we're building up here. Let's try it again. Can I open it? Can I close it? Can I open it back up? I can. All right, here we go. So we have all the emojis grouped out. And now the issue is if I were to type into the emojis, like dog, we broke that functionality. Now it doesn't actually show the ones that are dogs. So we need to kind of go back to that method that we added. And we need to probably take in a list of emojis. So I'm going to say emojis here, and this needs to be passed in a list of emojis, which I could probably do here. Okay. This is step one. This isn't going to work perfectly, but this will filter down the list through our groups. So where I type in dog, we'll get stuff that's related to a dog, so hot dogs and actual dogs. But I think one thing we want to do is we want to hide the group if it doesn't have any things that are related to this filter, right? So one thing you could also do is I'm going to add another method, which this isn't going to be the most performant way, but I'm going to say like has emojis in filter. I'm going to add a little helper function, and this is just going to return get filtered emojis. Length is greater than 0. Again, this is going to be not as performant, but again, we're not dealing with like 100,000 records. We're dealing with like a small subset of a thing. So this shouldn't be too slow to like filter out some of the stuff. But I'm going to use that helper, and I'm going to say, do not render out any of this if the group, or let me rephrase that. I'm only going to render out the group list if there's emojis. Okay, so why is this complaining? I think I need to get rid of some stuff here. Let's see. So if has emojis in filter, then we show it. Let's see what this is saying. Cannot do emoji. So I forgot to pass in emojis here. So let's just go ahead and grab the emojis. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to say const. Oh, I can't. Never mind. I'll keep it simple. I'll just do this. I'm kind of duplicating some code between here and here. I'll kind of like to dry that up and put it in a helper function. In fact, let me just do it. Let me just do proper. I'm going to say emojis in group is equal to that. And then I'm going to basically do this. I'm going to return that. I'm going to say emojis in group. And then down here at the bottom, what do I need to do? Let's do that. All right, does this work? Let's see. Get back all the emojis. We type in dog. And now we only see the groups that have dog in it. Type in hot dog. Maybe I spelled something else, hot dog, there we go. Happy, smirk. Okay, so now we have like a way of grouping these. And you can take this a step further. If you go back to the example image, notice that they have like groups on the side here. We could get the groups and display them on the left. Maybe we can do that real quick. I don't really have much time left, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the emoji panel. And we have a way to get the groups. We should probably just like make a function called like const get emoji groups. And that's going to basically return the object.maps or object.keys over the emojis. Right, get emoji groups. In fact, what I'm going to do is this Copilot actually told me to filter out, which I think was a good idea. Like we only want the groups that have emojis part of the filter. So I'm going to go ahead and say get emoji groups. And we want to display that somewhere. So where we could display that is on the left here. Yeah, get emoji groups map. We're going to do this. And let's just go ahead and render out these emoji groups. I don't want to do another filter. Get emoji groups is all the names of the groups, and then we are going to basically render them out. So let's see if we get a name of all the groups over here. This works cool, but it's pretty big. So I'm going to change this to like, what should I change this to? Span or div. And that should reduce the size of the text a little bit. But what we also want to do is we want to kind of split these left and right. So we could do another CSS grid if that's like your forte. Let's just try that since that's what we did with the other stuff. So I'm going to say display is grid, and then I'm going to say grid template columns is equal to 100 pixels, and then I'm going to say like the rest, or maybe you can do auto. I need to really read up on CSS grid and like remember how to do some of the stuff, but let's see. I probably need to like add some height to this or something. Grid template rows auto. No. 400 pixels. 300 pixels. Okay, the issue is that this needs to be wrapped in a div, right? The way some of the stuff works is that like you have to, yeah, let me do this. CSS grid is going to take the direct children. So if I have two divs, it's going to split them into two columns. And that's how we do it. I'm also going to expand the width of this a little bit. So let's add like 400 pixels here. And I'm going to expand, no, let's do 500. And I'm going to expand this to like 200. Here we go. So it's not the best. It's kind of ugly, but hey, like it'd be better if the scroll bar was here and then like this should be on its own scroll bar maybe. And then maybe you could do icons for this, but hopefully you get the picture. So like if you were to click one of these, technically we could try to like add more filters to filter by groups. But I think I'm gonna just wrap up this video because we did quite a bit. We have the emojis all separated by groups. If I type dog, it shows us the group that's related to dog. And yeah, I think this is pretty cool, We cached some stuff to make it a little bit quick. And let's just wrap this up. So if you enjoyed watching this, if you learned something, give me a thumbs up. Join my Discord if you want to talk to me directly or have any questions. And have a good day and happy coding.